For decades, it was purely science fiction, right? The idea of these tiny little machines zipping through our bloodstream, fixing cells, and taking out diseases from the inside. Well, that sci-fi dream, it's quickly becoming our clinical reality. So today, we're diving deep into the world of nanomedicine, where science at the absolute smallest scale is having the biggest possible impact on our health.
So let's just start with this one kind of huge question. What if, instead of, just flooding our entire body with powerful drugs, we could send these microscopic little messengers directly to the source of the problem? I'm talking about a single cancer cell, or one clogged artery, or a specific damaged neuron. That right there, that's the fundamental promise of nanomedicine.
Okay, so to really get why this is such a game changer, we have to look at the problems it's designed to fix. I mean, modern medicine has some amazing tools, for sure, but it also has some serious limitations, especially when we're up against really tough diseases like cancer.
And this really lays it all out, doesn't it? I mean, think about traditional chemotherapy. It's powerful, yeah, but it's basically a carpet bombing mission. It hits every fast-dividing cell in the body, not just the cancer, but also your hair, your stomach lining, your immune system. That's why the side effects can be so brutal. Now, nanomedicine, that's a completely different strategy. It's like a special ops mission. We're talking about a tiny, stealthy vehicle that goes in, delivers its payload only to the target, and leaves all the healthy cells completely alone.
So the big question is, how on earth do we get that kind of precision? Well, the answer is by engineering medicine at a scale that is, honestly, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. It all comes down to that little word, nano.
All right, let's talk scale, because this is what's so crucial. A nanometer is 1/1000th of a meter. So to put that in perspective for you, a single human hair is about 80,000 nanometers wide. We are literally talking about building things that are smaller than a virus. And because they're that small, they can get in there and interact directly with the building blocks of life, proteins, DNA, right inside our cells.
And you know what's wild? This idea isn't even new. The groundwork for it was actually laid way back in 1959 by the genius physicist Richard Feynman. He gave this famous talk called "There's Plenty of Room at the Bottom," where he basically dreamed up a future where we could build things one atom at a time. And now, that exact vision, it's the foundation of a massive multi-billion-dollar industry.
All right, so we've covered the what and the why. Now for the really cool part, the how. What can this brand new medical toolkit actually do? The applications are honestly all over the map. But let's kick things off with the biggest one, drug delivery.
So this is basically the three-step mission for one of these nanovehicles. First up, shield. It wraps up the drug, protecting it on its journey through the body. Next, target. The outside of this nanoparticle is covered in molecules that are like a special key, designed to fit only the locks on, say, a tumor cell. And finally, deliver. Once it's locked on, it releases its cargo right inside the target. This is huge because it lets us use stronger drugs and even sneak them past incredible defenses like the blood-brain barrier, which could totally change how we treat brain diseases.
But it's not just about delivering drugs, not by a long shot. Nanotechnology is really upgrading almost every corner of medicine. We're talking about nanosensors that can spot the tiniest signs of disease way before you'd ever feel sick. Nanoparticles that make tumors light up on MRI scans with unbelievable clarity. We've got nanofiber scaffolds that act like a perfect blueprint for our bodies to regenerate tissue. Heck, even just coating a medical implant with nanoparticles can stop deadly infections. It's everywhere.
Now, with all this incredible potential, you can probably guess what happened next. Nanomedicine has exploded out of the research lab and into the real world. And when I say it's a huge industry, I mean it's a massive global industry.
Whoa, yeah, just look at that number. Over $300 billion in 2024 alone. This isn't some niche, maybe someday kind of field anymore. This is a central part of modern healthcare, and it's attracting huge amounts of money and innovation from all over the globe. And it's not slowing down. The growth is just explosive. Projections show the market more than doubling in less than a decade. So what's driving this? Well, it's a few big things. We've got aging populations, more chronic diseases like cancer, and of course, the incredible success of the mRNA vaccines. They basically gave the entire world a crash course in just how powerful these tiny nano delivery systems can be. If you look at where this is all happening, North America is the big player right now, with almost half the entire market. And that makes sense, right? You've got a ton of government funding for research, a really solid biotech scene, and regulators who've been pretty quick to get on board with new tech. But keep an eye on Europe and the Asia-Pacific region. They're major hubs, and they are catching up fast.
So, who's behind all this investment? Well, it's the names you'd expect, the absolute giants of pharma. Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Merck, they are all in on this. In fact, if you got an mRNA COVID vaccine, you've already used a nanomedicine product. That vaccine was delivered using tiny lipid nanoparticles. So yeah, this is not some small-time startup game. This is a core part of the strategy for big pharma.
Okay, but with any technology this powerful, there's always a flip side. The incredible promise also comes with some serious peril. I mean, when you start messing with matter at the atomic level, you have to ask some really tough questions about safety, about toxicity, and about the long-term effects that, frankly, we're only just starting to figure out. And this quote from a recent scientific review really gets right to the point. The researchers call the toxicity problem pressing and say it necessitates resolution. What they're saying in plain English is, we have to solve this. We can't just keep pushing forward without figuring out the potential dangers.
And this really shows you the two sides of that coin. You've got the incredible promise, better treatments, fewer side effects. But then you have the peril. These tiny particles could actually damage our cells by causing something called oxidative stress. They might even set off our immune system in a dangerous way, triggering what's known as a cytokine storm. On top of all that, the technology is so new that the regulators are still playing catch-up, trying to figure out how to even test for safety in a standardized way.
So what exactly makes one of these nanoparticles toxic? Well, it's not just one thing, and that's the tricky part. The very same things that make them so useful, their super small size, their specific shape, the chemistry on their surface, are also what makes them risky. If a particle is small enough, it can get right inside a cell's nucleus, right next to your DNA. The coating on the outside dictates how it's going to behave once it's in your body. Even leftover bits from making them, like tiny metal particles, can be toxic. It's a really, really complex puzzle to solve. But even with all these challenges, the field is just not slowing down. It's moving ahead at an unbelievable pace. So let's wrap this up by looking forward, past what's happening today, and into what's coming next on the frontier of medicine.
You can really see the evolution here. Right now, today, we're getting really good at that precision drug delivery stuff. But in the very near future, we're going to see more theranostics. Think about that word, therapy and diagnostics in one. It's a single nanoparticle that can find a tumor, make it visible for doctors, and then release the medicine to kill it. All in one package. But the real long-term goal, the thing on the horizon, that's nanorobotics. And this is where things get really wild. This is science fiction becoming reality. We're talking about programmable, microscopic machines. Just imagine a tiny robot guided by a surgeon performing an operation inside a single cell, or a whole fleet of them sent in to clean out plaque from your arteries. This is the absolute ultimate vision of personalized precision medicine. And that really brings us to the final thought here. The potential of nanomedicine is it's breathtaking. It could completely change how we treat and cure disease. But as we get this godlike power to engineer life at the molecular level, we have to hit the pause button and ask some very big questions. How do we make absolutely sure these tools are safe? What are the ethical lines that we should never ever cross? And, maybe most importantly, how do we ensure this amazing new medicine is available to everyone, and not just the wealthy? Figuring out the answers to those questions is going to be just as important as the science itself.